Hi everyone. I've been on a fighting game kick as of recently, so I'll be talking a lot about that, but I haven't forgotten about my roots. So I'll be talking a little bit about Dead by Daylight today. Again, I'm kind of firing these videos out here before I need to go back to college and can't make them much anymore. So, yeah. I love making videos for you guys. It gives me something to do. Plus, I love hearing your opinions. Again, thanks for 30 subs. I cannot appreciate that enough. But now let's get to the point. After watching Mint Skull's recent video about Dead by Daylight's incomplete chapters, essentially, and what he would do to finish them, I personally wanted to take a similar approach. But not just with incomplete chapters, oh no. With chapters that I considered to be lackluster, to say the least. They don't even need to be outright bad, they just need to be missing a little something. And personally, the first chapter that was like that was the Halloween chapter released all the way back in 2017. Yes, I think that this chapter is actually, and this is the hottest take I've ever had, one of the worst chapters on an objective level. Not the worst, looking in your direction, Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was certainly bad. Dead by Daylight, whole reason of still existing, was teetering on this chapter. Thank goodness it was enough of a hit for people to love it. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be talking about this game to this day. But when it comes down to brass tacks, I think we can all agree that we were more excited about the chapter existing rather than most of its contents. I'm not saying that people who are genuine fans of this chapter don't exist. They do, and they are spectacular people. In fact, I'm one of them. I like this chapter, but I also think it's one of the worst. For two main reasons. Note how I didn't say three, because I think Laurie Strode was actually done perfectly. And her perks are actually usable now, more specifically Decisive Strike. But that was not the case back then. Back then, this whole chapter was a mess. The perks were way too strong, and the ones that weren't were way too unusable. Haddonfield was incomplete, and it felt so wrong. And then there was Michael Myers. Michael Myers was actually the only good thing about the chapter. Was the only good thing. That everyone can unanimously agree on, I mean. The map Haddonfield is just a map that I just don't like. I can't pin down why exactly, but whenever I go to Haddonfield, I feel like it's a little too survivor-sided. In my opinion, the maps that are killer-sided feel way too easy. The maps that are survivor-sided feel way too unfair. I personally like maps that are neither sided, that are equal for both sides. And then there's Myers himself. Myers. Oh, Myers. I could just repeat everything that everyone has said before. How he's outdated and stuff like that. But the only problem with that is, they're not really telling a lie. Myers is outdated. His stealth gameplay worked back then, But Ghostface is a better version of Myers, and he barely crawls out of unviability. So how do you think Myers does? Yeah, not very good. If you ask me, I think this chapter was rushed out the door. There was a lot that was left on the cutting room floor, including a whole layer of Myers' chase theme and an entire second map for this chapter. So, yeah, this chapter was rushed. Not as badly as the ones that would come next, but it still felt it. Honestly, I'm surprised that this was enough to get people to love the game at all. But how would I fix such a chapter? Well, first of all, Object of Obsession needs a complete rework. Object of Obsession, the way it works now, is it's just disgustingly powerful or disgracefully weak. There is no in between. However, at this time, I don't know how I would rework it. So please let me know in the comments below. I would also say rework Decisive Strike, but Behavior already did that and did a good job. Surprisingly. So, that just leaves the map and Myers. The map is the obvious bad part of this whole thing, because it's essentially just a big open space with a bunch of random garbage spewed about. I know that's what every other creator says, but they're not wrong. They have a point. Man, remember when Behavior put actual thought and effort into their map design instead of whatever this is? And they put more thought and effort into their game design now than they did back then. But the old problems can still shine through, like a flashlight. But here's my here's my compromise. Get rid of some of the loops and get rid of the House of Doom. That's it. The rework proved that that's mostly what it needed. Just a few of the loops removed and to be a little more friendly to the dredge. That's it. Otherwise, I think aesthetically it's a great map. And I think the idea to remove Shaq, while weird back in 2016, was ultimately a good move, as it would feel very weird with Shaq. Finally, there's Myers himself. There have been multiple people trying to rework Myers in a way that made any sense. And honestly, I don't know what you can do with Myers. His powers aren't exactly clear. It's not exactly clear if he even has powers. But one thing is clear about Michael. Stalking is not part of his power. It is his power. So, yeah. Also, it feels weird that Michael Myers' undetectable state is objectively a downside. So, how do we fix this? Michael Myers is actually a simple fix. Ninskull made a really good video about how he would fix Michael Myers, and I am just gonna borrow his idea. Basically make it so that you can swap between tiers 1 and 2 when you want to. I, this idea is basically a combination of Dusteroo's and Minskull's ideas. Tier 1 is basically just a basic killer with almost no tear radius. But Myers is slightly weaker overall since he takes a little bit longer to kick pellets down. Tier 2 is where he gets a tear radius, but it's still small, moves a bit faster, and can break things faster. Tier 3 is where things get juicy because now he can vault faster and down people because everyone's marked with exposed. However, you can now run out of tier 2 and you can now run out of tier 3 like you can now, but tier 2 and tier 1 are things you can swap between. So if you're in a chase, you can get into tier 2, but if you're trying to sneak, you can stay in tier 1. Finally, and this is a change that everybody has suggested, but it just makes sense to me, tier 4. Tier 4 Myers basically has the same consensus, making Tombstone Piece a base kit add-on. Except now, tie it to the hardest to get tier. This tier will slowly drain, but Myers has a gigantic tear radius. He also has an extremely fast vault speed and breaking speed, but he can't attack normally. No. Now he has to get in uncomfortably close to a survivor before instantly moriing them. And don't think you can hide in a locker to save yourself, because Myers now has a new animation for just pinning you up like he does in the first film with his knife in Tier 4. However, killing a survivor this way will instantly drain your Tier 4. That is all he needed. Well, that and the fact that he's the only killer who can run out of power. So, make it so that survivors either drain much slower or that survivors slowly gain evil back over time. That way, Myers can continue to gain in power, but he's still punished for stalking someone for too long. Also, get rid of the stalking range requirement because, seriously, why does Myers need to be in hair sniffing distance to stalk someone? Meanwhile, Ghostface can stalk wherever he wants? That makes no sense. So yeah, this is a basic pilot episode for a potential new series. I shouldn't call it a new series yet because it's basically just an idea that I'm throwing at the wall. And I'm not even sure if it's gonna stick, but hey, don't knock until you try it. But yeah, what do you think of the changes that I made to the Halloween chapter? And if you think that the Halloween chapter needs a few more changes, I got one more for you. Adding in the scrapped Haddonfield Laboratory map. Or the Laboratory, which, yes, was actually supposed to be a thing. The mental asylum, I mean, was supposed to be a map, but it never got added. Not only would that make a good indoor map, but when you finally get to see what that map would look like. So yeah, how would you change the Halloween chapter if you had the power to? Do you think there's some things that I didn't get right? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I've been the Gamer Nerd, and thank you for watching. Sorry that this one was a short one.